The freedom this has given me to come up here with nothing, which is one of the most exciting. It's better when you get that where you've got so much ancient coke in the way, it's just like slush. Remember that? I used to do gigs and I'd go up and say stuff like that, and they'd go, no, we don't remember that. And then I'd feel like, you know, think, you're the only people I can say this stuff to. And people laugh and think it's funny. Instead of going, oh my God, it's a calling. I was a pub in Liverpool, O'Connor's Tavern. And I was shy, I felt physically ugly, I had the wrong kind of hipsters on, or whatever. You know that kind of thing where you're ill-clad and sort of, and everyone else is dead cool. I didn't really feel like a man. Everyone else looked bigger than me physically, and there were tough guys there selling dope outside on the steps. And it was on and down the walk, and there'd be guys like that, all right, just scanning the street and talking out the corner of their mouths and all that. And I'd be like some blushing, sort of odd, you know, squeaky little boy going in there. And you know, like when you go into a club and someone says, should we dance with these two? And you go, let's get another drink first. And you have a moment with the alcohol where you become like Oscar Wilde, and you just dancing on one's own, but you do all that. That gets truncated very quick, until in the end you go from going, oh yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, next thing you have a drink and you go, yeah, fucking shit! At the end of my users, I got into doing loads of kind of North London industrial amphetamine, that real cat stiff, sweating ammonia, wonderful stuff, right? Where you inject it and you go, and then you fall asleep, it's all the way to the body back in. You wake up later, think I'm 18 and I think I was the Catholic school, no, you're 37, you're ugly, you're married. But near the end of my using, I remember walking along by Finsbury Park, and I'd have like speed in one pocket, I'd have a little bit of gear, perhaps, and occasionally I'd have cocaine, not that I'd be given. But mostly it was just this industrial amphetamine, my methadone script, and that'd be it. I'd be walking on the streets, and suddenly I'd hear voices, you know, someone go doing all that, and hey, whoa, and I think, that's absolutely appalling, those people should be rounded up. And then I'd have a moment of lucidity, and I'd look around, and there'd be no one there. Just me. I'm glad to be free of that world. And the other part of that is, I remember that thing, when I found that packet, I at least it was okay. Yeah. You know, now I've no debates around physiological addiction, it's physiological, you know, it's real. But it was amazing, someone would come around and say, Thingy's got here, do you credit? And I'd rise from my bed and I'd think, I'll go round there. Shall I go round or shall I leave it? I think I'll go round. Later or now, I think I'll go immediately. But I'd be walking down there like, whoo, talking to old men putting their hedges, talking about I'm actually getting the packet and saying to the guy who had been moaning about 2 hours before, going, that bastard is, oh, you just need a selfish, and everyone going, oh, I was worried about you, man, I thought you'd been. I'm in the packet, I'm walking up the street with this packet and thinking, if the SAS appeared now, they wouldn't get this packet. I'm okay. Whatever else happens in the history of the world, at this moment, at this particular time, I'm not one with the universe. I'm alright. The actual getting back and getting the citric out and the spoon and all that, it's all downhill. We're probably the most insightful bunch of people you've ever meet. Insightful even when there's not to be insightful. Bordering on paranoia. They throw weeks of amphetamines in there. It's probably not a judgment isn't as great. But I was told years ago, we're a little bit more sensitive than other people. We're a little bit too jealous, often to a fault, both emotionally and economically. And we're a little bit better off than most people. That's just a little secret. You look around and how's it feeling there at this moment? Good. Feel alive? When we come together like this, and we actually sort of wake up and focus, there's a strange, powerful energy in the room. We're very powerful, you know. When I'm on my own talking to the mirror like this, it doesn't feel like this. The conversation, the availability of the conversation is over here, that's the bit. But that's not something you can put on someone. That's not something you can tell them. Otherwise it's like, pull yourself together. Or, just say no. Just say no. Oh, it was that close, but I just said no. It's like it's young children, isn't it? Children are wiser than that. But politicians and the bullshit they spout and the nonsense. And I've watched the recovery movement grow and I've felt the rage within, and because suddenly it gets converted, it gets translated into some soundbite nonsense. But again, we feel oppressed and we feel condemned. You know, our stuff goes way back. And that's why I say, sometimes we don't realise the significance of being here, now, in this room. Because what you guys are doing is standing still, the most heroic thing you can do, and saying, after generations, standing on the shoulders of those who've gone before you, who maybe couldn't, weren't in a position to actually address their condition, or even have the luxury of being able to look at themselves. And what you're saying is, let's unpack this thing. Let's argue about it. Let's explore it. Let's start to find out who we are. Why do I always find myself in the same relationship? Why does the man or woman in front of me, I get there from one, but suddenly overnight they take off their disguise as the same person years before? Why do we repeat? All the old, whether it's Freud or Marx or all that thing that we have, that which we forget, we repeat. We save our venom for those we love. Is that true? It seems to be that's where, you know, we can all, I can come up here and speak and, oh yeah, that guy's really funny and all this. And my wife was, if they only knew what you were being. And suddenly I'm kind of shrunk and if they only knew what a nasty old, you know. She doesn't just say hi, I say that's not good, but it's because she sees warts and all, the full bit. And a lot of this stuff is about allowing other people in. And something about this movement, that's the exciting part, the upside of whatever this is. We don't use those for nothing. We feel, you know. Often we come from difficult places, difficult histories. You know, our tears are inside, a reservoir of tears sometimes. Pain going back generations. And yet the people before us often did the best we can. But before we can move on, first we have to have the attack on the way. We have to be able to stand up and say, listen, this is what, somewhere in some kind of safe environment, we need to be able to get that stuff out and say, you fucking let them, whatever it is, we need to get all that venom out. And usually what we find is once we exhaust that rage, then we fall into the sadness, and we start to find out who's underneath, the boy or girl within.
And we've been so interested in our own little camps and our own little organisations even, and to a wider extent our modalities of treatment and what has got us alive again and what has got people who used to use drugs chaotically back into society and integrated for some, reintegrated for others, you know, and it seems as though that's been totally divided and we've been made more disparate to the point where we're having meetings to people, activists are having meetings to decide whether they can talk together. You know, we had that common shared experience of low self-esteem, discrimination and stigma, yet we're still just protecting our own little pots. And I think if we take a wider view and really protect society and our communities, really, I feel it begins with us. And interestingly enough, it fits in with the localisation agenda. For me, it begins in our local communities. If we can change our local communities, then surely we can make a bigger change regionally, then nationally. We have a society again. We need to remember that shared experience and that shared commonality of stigma, discrimination, and being outcast, really. And if we can remember that that's where we all came from, and we wanted something more positive for ourselves and others, then I think that's how we can mesh ourselves back together.
I'm going to give you a little history of myself and Gary. We met at DDN 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And that was on the point of amalgamation of two groups. We was the first two groups to amalgamate, wasn't we? Why I'm doing this is because actually Gary went up in front of everybody today and told his story, but I don't think the story done it justice because I think actually you didn't want to actually put too much self-praise on yourself, you know, because we know it's no recommendation. But I've got to praise you. Our group praises you, right? Yeah, we respect what you've done. We follow what you're doing. We're proud of what you've done, because actually, from you left us, you started to present, go out on the road, become your own grassroots mechanism for service users. Is real service user involvement, right? Someone who has been with a group and has experienced a group and has empowered himself and has got faith in his own integrity, being who you are, right? Yeah, being authentic, being genuine, right? Yeah. So you know you can't fall, can you?
Being real.
Yeah, being real. But it shows for yourself when you're integral, right? Yeah, and you're truthful, you can get the involvement and service user involvement, and you know your numbers will swell, right? Yeah, and that's the involvement in it, right? Is to swell the numbers. The integration is getting people back into the community.
That's it, yeah. And the way we've done that is through diversionary activities and setting up more. For example, someone didn't mention earlier on the presentation, we're buying 10 mountain bikes. That's getting people biking together. We've got a group allotment, we can garden on it. You know, we've got cameras so we can do photography. We've got a video camera so people can film each other and make our own alcohol awareness videos. And we've got all little other bits. They wanted games console nights, so we've gone out and bought PlayStation 3 and a Wii. They wanted board games, we've bought board games. So it's about putting all them little things in place, you know, making it as diverse as possible, but getting them back into the community, enjoying things that they should be.
My point is this, right? Yeah, the only marginalised groups are people who marginalise themselves because there's a big network out there ready to embrace us and endorse what we're doing, and actually we can work in partnership. Give us a diagnosis of our weaknesses, Gary, because where have we gone wrong? We've done everything what was asked for of us. Where have we gone wrong, Gary? Right, yeah? Come on, tell me.
I think where you've gone wrong, and this from going back to what you've just said, you've done everything that was asked of you, right? Who's asked you it? That's the first thing, right? And the second thing is, why do they need to ask you it? Because it should be you asking them to do it.
And that's where I've gone wrong, and thank you for that diagnosis. And that's why it's Gary Topley.
Being independent as well, you know, we've been able to do a lot more because our hands aren't tied. In the group, weekly group meetings, everyone in the project, we decide what we want to do, you know, and then we do it. It's not, I'm going to have to tick that form, go through this form, go through that form. We just put it in place and do it.
I'm an ex-service user, and I am now fully employed with the Small Business Consultancy. The Small Business Consultancy is a community interest company that started in 2009. We have a vision where we're to create a society where nothing holds people back from becoming successful. And we do this by inspiring and empowering people to become successful through enterprise. Be it on one of our E=MC² programs, where over 10 weeks we help people to not only teach them how to set up a business, we actually set up a small business with them. Or through our Progress to Success program, where we incentivize and inspire people to take steps towards their SMART goals and gain employability skills, increase their confidence, and gain employment.
I've enjoyed coming here today and giving that presentation, you know, and I hope that DDN carries on, you know, doing what it does and reaching out to people a bit similar to myself and helping them as best as they can. People do watch this and, you know, they think that it's impossible to set up your own project. You know, believe in yourself and realise that there is people out there that still need help, and what better help, you know, they can get from their peers. Funding is very difficult, you know, to get hold of now, but, you know, I started running what I did with £2,700. That isn't massive amounts. We've had very little since then in terms of support from other places, and I think that's why it's worked, because it's made me more determined and the others that come to project meetings more determined to make what we're doing now a success and create as much awareness and give as much support as we can. And I think a lot of the difference is that, you know, money can help, but I think passion comes first.